So here's how to hire an independent contractor and comply with California law. Although there's no guarantee that if you follow these steps that your contractor will still remain a contractor if you get audited by EDD. However, here's some ways you can strengthen your position and not have your contractors reclassified as employees. Overall, if you're hiring a freelancer, you're going to want to verify that they have a website, they have a client base. That's really important. So how do you do that? You can do a social media search when you hire the person. Ask them for some references. Find out if they have a website. Do they have a client base? Things like that. Those are really important determinations that the government, California EDD, will make in determining whether you have a legitimate contractor. Other things you're going to want to have: an independent contractor agreement. Don't copy one off of the internet. Get an attorney to create one for you. They shouldn't be too expensive, but at minimum, it should state that the person's a contractor and maybe even reference the new law, AB 5, that came into effect January 1st, 2020 in California, and the three elements that it has. And the first element is control. And usually those independent contractor agreements, legitimate ones, will say that the hiring company doesn't have control over the worker, right? So, and control comes in many ways. But they should be able to determine their own rate, use their own tools, and determine the time they're going to perform the services. Other things you're going to want to have: make sure that your independent contractor has a legitimate EIN number. Now, some people may not want that, but if you really want to strengthen your position, an EIN number is going to help. So when you give them a 1099 next year for the payments you pay them this year, the 1099 form will reference their EIN number versus a social security number. Pretty big difference to EDD when they're looking up names, and they get the 1099s. The government, state of California, will get those 1099s you file with the IRS and perform their own analysis to determine whether they need to open up your company for an audit. Another really basic thing: make sure that your contractor has a business license, and they might have more than one. It's going to be for the area that they're performing services. So if you have a subcontractor and you're going to hire one that's licensed and they're performing services in a couple different counties or cities, make sure they have a business license for the area they're performing services for you, where your company is located. Couple other things that most people don't think about: make sure your contractor is giving you invoices. And the invoices, you don't want them giving you an invoice every 2 weeks, because that's kind of the payment pattern that you would pay an employee. So when the project is completed, you're hiring them for a project. If it's for an IT project, because you have an IT company you're hiring, or a marketing person, when they finish a project, whether it's a website, things like that, make sure they give you an invoice. And the invoice should detail out, the hours and what services are performing. So if somebody else reviews this, they can see that these services really are not similar to what your company does, the core function your company does. So for us, if I'm a law firm and I hire a marketing person, the marketing person performs marketing services. My law firm performs legal services. The two are unrelated. And in AB 5, that's the second element, right? Does the contractor and the company perform different services? And then the last thing, as part of AB 5, which requires the contractor have a legitimate trade or business. So we talked a little bit about the business license and the EIN number. If they have a corporation or LLC, they're not required to have one, but it would probably help. So you probably want to have your own checklist. I've given you about 6 items. Come up with your own checklist with those and maybe some other ones of items you're going to require your contractors to have before you give them your first check. Right? So you want to have them fill out the W-9 with their EIN number, their business address, and also provide some of the other extraneous information we talked about: social media websites, websites if they have an actual website. And the website, look, if they don't have a large business, they might just have a Yelp page. They might have some listing on another, maybe it's LinkedIn, something like that. But it should state that they've been in business for themselves, self-employed, for so many years. Hope the information was valuable. Have a happy holiday.